Hey everybody, back again. Happy Tuesday. I'm going to switch off that screen and welcome everybody back to the show, Truflation Nation. Hope you listened in to the spaces with Henrik Zeberg earlier. Amazing spaces, went by like that. Super fast, it was a lot of fun, exciting. Yeah, I thought lots of good insights, right? Definitely bleak. Fear factor really high right now. It's high out there. Yeah, so hold on, buckle up. It's going to be a topsy turvy, wavy waters out there. And the net of the call, we're going to go into a recession. We need to find, and inflation's going to pick up again in the new year, maybe deflation. We're going to go into stagflation. So all the scary words that you hear from a macroeconomic perspective. But remember, it's an election year. And what happens in election years? Money printer go burr. So inflation either way is going to go up. Consumer, it's all down to the consumer right now. The consumer already has been 70% of spending. Now it is still 70% of spending, but a lot of things have been happening. If you've been following Truflation, you will know, and if you listened, delinquencies are up. So credit card delinquencies are on the rise. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. Yeah, we're just working through. And so I'm going to cover off a couple of things today. We're going to go quickly into some of the alpha, some of the news, what we're hearing, some of the partnerships. And we've got some really cool partnerships around the housing report. And we've got some insights around inflation numbers coming out tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. So stay tuned to that. And I'll share a sneak review on our report. I'm not supposed to do that, but I'm going to do that for you. So hope you're logging in. Hope you're enjoying this. Hit the like, subscribe, do the stuff you got to do. But I'm not going to talk about that anymore because we're doing this for the community, and the community that wants to listen to this should chime in. And if you want to subscribe and you are a token holder, then you subscribe. And then we'll go into some of our partnerships that we've got. I spoke about that already, and then I'll address some of the questions that you have. So I know a lot of you have questions, and one of the questions that everybody's been asking me for a long period of time, I'll address that there. So stay tuned, and it's about regarding the 5 days of staking rewards that was missed out. Even though we're paying really good APYs already, we're going to address that. And we heard you, we listened, and we're going to address that. So stay tuned to the end of the show, though, unfortunately. So you're going to have to listen in, or you can log back in later, but you may miss it. But you could also watch the recording and listen to that at 2x speed, which is a lot of the time what I do when I'm at the gym. I listen to stuff at 2x speed. Anyway, it's been an amazing. How many of you watched, and tell me, how many of you watched the actual Elon Musk and Donald Trump live stream? That was an amazing stream last night. I think it was the talk of the day. I've already been on, I don't know how many calls all day today, but you can see here that when they launched it, and they had a DDoS attack, which means a denial of service attack, which means hundreds of bots going to the servers and trying to crash the servers because the servers can't handle the IO or squash the bandwidth. So the IO means input output. And so they can't handle that volume. That's what was happening. That's why there was a delayed start. They had, according to some numbers, here you can see some numbers, 73 million views. Wow, I mean that's pretty insane. That's like getting not quite the Super Bowl-esque, but that's getting up there and pretty high up there. Sorry guys, I need a drink. I'm just But here, a total of 998 million views, so nearly a billion views. If you look at all the reshares, a lot of people were actually streaming it and putting it onto YouTube so that you could watch it on their YouTube channel. And even Truflation had done something like that. So I hope, did you watch that? I don't know. Anyway, let us know in the likes and the comment sections if that's something that you did and you chimed in. Anyway, that was that. Quite a lot of viewers. But I think more importantly, this is becoming such a new medium outlet that people are beginning to use more and more social media as a direct channel to their customers and their audience. Why? Well, because we are running into greater and greater problems with the powers that be. You can see right here, there was that email that went out from Thierry Breton, who is the European, I don't know, is he the European Commissioner? Is he the European President? Or what's his name? Member of the, I don't even know what his title is. Anybody know? Let me know in the chat. But either way, you can see a lot of elements here. They're trying to censor, and make sure with great audience comes great responsibility. The DSA, which we talked about, if you watched some of the Truflation Nations earlier on, we did talk about the DSA, the Digital Security Act, or digital, I don't know what. So they're trying to secure the population from people expressing an opinion. And wasn't the whole point freedom of speech? Isn't that a whole mantra that we should be adhering to, listening to, and preaching? Anyway, they don't like that. And I guess, I don't know why they don't like it. They're really scared of Trump and coming into power, and Elon Musk expressing his opinion. People can't have an opinion. The elite have to dictate our opinion. Anyway, that's the main reason why we set up Truflation. Today, in the federal statistical system in the US, you've got 300,000 employees, and you've got, maybe not 300,000, about 100,000 employees. You've got a budget of about $3 trillion. And then that is a bunch spread out across 13 plus departments that are doing all sorts of statistical analysis across pricing information from utilities, etc. And so that is controlled centrally. And in Europe, I don't even know the numbers. At least we in the US are transparent about those numbers and share those, and you have insight as to where your tax dollar is going. With $35 trillion in debt, wouldn't it be efficient to save operational expense and move some of that budget elsewhere and have an efficient framework that is set up, that can be monitored, and have it immutable, censorship resistant, that people can track? And do the same in Europe. Why wouldn't you do the same in Europe? Europe is actually bigger. Apparently, Europe has, in combined, the whole European Union has some 500 million people across the whole of Europe. I didn't know that, but I found that out whilst listening to somebody else's podcast on the show that was taking place because of this DSA Act. And so they're trying to squash the ability for people to hear certain opinions around certain things when it comes down to social media, and not coming from BBC and mainstream media. And I don't know, did you see all the posts that are out there that are talking about mainstream media and what they've been saying about this event? I was in the gym this morning, and so they have 3 big screens up there. I was doing my rowing. I love my rowing. I got up and I'm sure, I think there's a podcast somewhere on my show where I'm actually rowing and somebody filmed me rowing. But ideally, what I saw on the 3 screens, it was BBC, CNBC, and then some MTV channel, right? And so, but on CNBC, and they never talked about 16 million people live streaming at the same time. They never talked about the phenomenal display and content of what they were actually talking about. Instead, it was delayed. It started late. They had technical glitches. Blabbering on. So there was never really any content and around the conversations and the topic, which, I don't know, a lot of you have done spaces, listened to spaces. There are lots of different topics, and we do it here at Truflation Nation. We cover multiple different topics at a macro level to address different aspects and express our opinions associated with that. They are opinions, and there is a community of people that listen to an opinion. And I think when the community gets too big, they get scared. And what happened when Facebook got too big and Facebook started expressing a lot of opinion? They got too big. Had to stamp them down. When they wanted to launch their own Libra coin, do you remember that? Everybody remember the Libra coin? They wanted to launch Libra coin. They shut them down. Why? Because it was a currency with a marketplace. All of a sudden, I had the commerce platform and the currency that would be the de facto standard in and reaching to, I don't know, at the time, Facebook had maybe 2 billion people. So a population of 2 billion people, greater than China, that was actually going to trade in products amongst each other on these marketplaces in Facebook using the Libra coin. Ooh, very, very scary. So all of a sudden, when it comes to competition to their currencies, they're feeling afraid. And we're seeing that with Choke Point 2.0, Choke Point 3.0 that's coming out now in these various sectors. Um, a lot of these are happening and we're dealing with, right? And I think those are just unfortunately things that that we just gotta track and just handle. You know, it's like new means, new medium, new communities. Yeah. So here, this was the article that I'm just going to share this quickly. I mean, obviously, it's Elon Musk sharing it, so you got to take that with a pinch of salt. But it was by actually Autism Capital. Look at this: Trump rambles, slurs his way through Elon Musk interview. Kamala Harris campaign criticizes Trump for serving self-obsessed rich guys after interview. But by the way, Kamala's been invited to speak on the show as well. Oops. Maybe I'll move that away from here. And then, you know, Trump lisps. Elon got EU disinformation warning before rambling Donald Trump. So they're all using the same language, right? From Hollywood Reporter to Newsweek to Washington Post. Trump returns to X with technical glitches. Again, like I said, softball questions from Musk. It was a conversation. It wasn't about softball questions. It wasn't about hard ass questions, but I don't know when we've seen the counter art. Anyway, I don't want to talk too much about that because that's about politics, but politics does impact the economic situations and state that we're in. And we're living in high fear. We've got the Middle East issue going on. We've got Ukraine going on. I mean, you don't want to look at the news today because it's actually so depressing when you're watching this. So, how do we stay away from that? And it's not mainstream media that's serving up some other problem. We've got riots in the UK. I don't know if any of you've seen that. So, and inflation's coming up, salary inflation, wage inflation hasn't made up for any of that, right? And so those are things that the people are really trying to suffer and deal with, right? And when the government isn't really helping solve it, and the tax basis is just continuing to grow, because that's the only way they know out of this. How do we deal with that, right? And by the way, this Thierry Breton guy apparently has a Senegalese citizenship. So the Senegalese citizenship apparently has certain tax benefits that come with it. I don't know, but that's just sort of what I've been reading. And maybe I shouldn't talk too much about it because we're here to talk about macroeconomic situations and the financial situation. But that's not looking good either. And if you know, we're hitting soaring prices. Um, so we're seeing manufacturing insurance costs go up. And we're not only seeing that in the manufacturing base, and especially as we're trying to onshore a lot of manufacturing, how do we deal with that? So manufacturing is going up, not only in insurance in the manufacturing basis, you're also seeing that in auto insurance. Premiums are going up again. Uh, There you go. They're about to get even higher, right? And so here, share this tab. You can see auto insurances, again, premiums are getting higher as well. So unfortunately, transportation costs are going to be going up, that we can see. But not only are we seeing the rise in costs for manufacturing, which is going to be transferred onto the products that are sold, we're going to see the rise in inflation because according to transportation, as the premiums go up. We're also seeing sales come down, right? So you're seeing places like Home Depot saying they're cutting their sales outlook as consumer spending weakens. So if you were listening to the Truflation Spaces earlier, consumer spending is weakening, right? And so we were talking, it's all about the consumer. We were talking about delinquencies up, and consumer spending is so important around that. Unemployment rates are up, so we've talked about that in the past. podcasts and Truflation Nation shows, and we're talking about other um, SMB businesses are not doing so well. So a lot of different things happening right now, right? And so you're seeing as well, Koblesi letter, they wrote about Starbucks. We talked about the earnings calls. We talked about all the McDonald's coming down in earnings, but also Starbucks, 2 consecutive quarters of declining revenue drop. So people aren't spending anymore. Yeah, but why would you spend $6 on a coffee when you can make your own coffee at home or buy a quick coffee machine for next to nothing at Costco and then have your own coffee? Buy a whole bag of coffee, fresh coffee. You can choose the coffee. I love Death Wish coffee. They're not a sponsor. I just love them because they're the strongest coffee in the world, and they definitely give you a kick and they wake you up in the morning. Or you can try other things, NoCo, to wake you up in the morning. NoCo is BCAA infused and caffeine infused soda. Really good, by the way. A bit like Celsius. Um, anyway, those are drinks that you can have. I digress. But those I can buy in bulk and I can have them at home. I can put them in the refrigerator and I don't spend $6 to get a coffee. And each individual can or bottle costs a fraction of what it would cost if I go and get a coffee at Starbucks. So those are things that people are beginning to realize, right? So they're taking into account savings and benefits associated with that. And if you read the Truflation report, inflation report for July, you'll see that the consumer is beginning to pay attention to coupons, to where they can get a good deal, how they can save money, and where they can actually be more effective in their purchasing. So those are things that are happening, and you can see that. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. Yeah, I think I can go on and on and on, but I think that's it for now. But all I can say is really in summary, it's pretty bleak out there. It's people are scared, uncertain. We don't trust what the government's telling us anymore. We're seeing a lot of immigration take place in our country, and benefits going to the immigrants and not going to the local population that are paying their taxes, whilst they're working really hard and feel that they've been deprived of getting any kind of benefits. Especially you're seeing in the UK right now, right? In the UK, there've been a lot of upsets around the inflation numbers, not only inflation numbers, a lot of riots and upset. And if you've been, and we just had a really good call this morning. So we'll be in the UK in September, and we're going to be presenting at a conference held by I can say the name, yeah, by Santander, a big bank. They're hosting a conference. They want Truflation there. Why? Because they want a source of truth, and they want a bit of a alternative to the ONS. The ONS is the equivalent to the BNS, the Office of National Statistics, it's called, right? And so we're going to be there talking about our high frequency data, real-time census-based aggregation of data. And to the credit of the ONS, they've realized that this is an important factor and are now taking scanned grocery pricing data as a part of their metrics versus using surveys as they have in the past. And that's why technology is brilliant, because it forces us to continually innovate and drive and stay ahead of the curve. If we do not continue to innovate, if we do not have that competitive spirit to better ourselves and improve the technology that we're building on, e.g. using AI, getting additional data sets, crowdsourcing the data, all of these things that we're doing at Truflation, ensuring composability with our adapters and using AI in the adapters to be able to verify, qualify, and authenticate the data and ensure composability into the various categories. In using AI to be able to learn and identify the type of data and the type of messaging that's coming through in order to be able to provide better indexes. All of these things, we need to continuously innovate. And TSN is already ahead of the curve, because not only have we decentralized it, We've also added these adapters to it. So we're 3 years ahead. We started with census based data 3 years ago. So hopefully, and we'll be open sourcing a lot of this. And you can already go to Discord. If you're not in the Truflation Discord, you won't see the release updates that we do every week, every day. Every day, the team is doing a release update on the TSN. And so much so that the node operators, we've had to hold back to not update the node network too fast. So we're doing it once a week. We're scaling back and holding back all the updates and then pushing it once a week with our node operators into the network. Stay tuned. We'll be announcing more around that very soon. Yeah, and as you can see, that's sort of where we're at now. But I just wanted to share with you the UK and why is UK having such difficulties and why are the people really upset there. Number one, the immigration is just too big, too many people pouring into the market, and really I want to say leeching off the system instead of contributing. It's like people and like I've kids, they love their social media. They're lurking, right? They're not contributing. And so my whole, if you listen to my podcast, I think it was with Dr. Gemma Green over at Power Ledger, we were talking about lurking versus participating. It is important that we participate and we learn to drive participation and engage, right? How do we drive that engagement? What do we need to do to really accelerate engagement and participation? Have a voice, share that voice, and learn how to deal with social media. Don't just lurk and participate. And I think when new immigrants come into a nation, they don't know what to do. And sometimes they're so overwhelmed, and the system is so overwhelmed because they're coming in droves at such high volume that we cannot process them. And so as a result, the system breaks down, which then creates dissatisfaction in the population, creates frustration with the immigrants because they are scared, number one. And number two is they don't speak the local language. And so they don't speak the language, they don't know what's going on, and they're ultimately scared because they're in a new environment. And then at the same time, you've got the domestic, local inhabitants that are struggling with how come I can't get from the system what others are getting? How come I can't participate? And by the way, I can't even pay food. And if you look in the UK since 2000, you've had a 37% increase in inflation. Man, that's quite a load, right? I mean, how do you deal with that? How do you handle that, right? That's definitely, and in the utilities, which is one thing that's always shocking me, is I need to log in, and I'm going to disconnect and log in with my other account, which will now give me full access. Boom. So, oh, why didn't it sign in? You're not seeing my screen. Anyway, guys, so I'm just going to show you, I'm entering in the app now. Come on, baby, take me in. And I'm going to share my screen and screen here. And you can now see the Truflation dashboard. Just coming here, I'm going to go to the UK. Come on, UK. Oh, no, I went into search, UK. Oops, I got UK. There's no double UK, but here in aggregate inflation, you can see here, here we go, 37.28%, right? So you can see what that inflation is like, and experience that, right? So in the utility sector, I mean, we've had Max, here we go. You can see, look at that. If you look at electricity, the electricity prices in the UK have gone up. They reached a maximum of 160%. So your electricity bill in the summer, when it's super hot and you can't cool down because there's no air conditioning, so everything's sweat, everything's sticky, it's hot. And either way, you're paying double what you paid a year ago or 3 years ago. And then if you look on the flip side, there was a really good post that somebody made out there around wage inflation, right? Who was it? Scoble. I think it was Scoble, Robert Scoble. Boom. Was it him or was it? No, it wasn't Scoble. It was the other guy. Kistel. Um, Kiss. Evan Kistel, that's who it was. That's who, Evan, boom, tech influencer. He posted something around electricity consumption. Google. Well, that's an interesting one. Um, so he posted this. I don't know if you can see this. I like this one. But he's looking at the electricity, talking about electricity, right? We're talking about electricity in the UK, and here he's talking about across the countries, right? So Nigeria, Ireland, Serbia, Google, Microsoft. So tech companies, Meta, tech companies are going to be using way more electricity. AI is going to be requiring, in order to win in AI, you need sufficient electricity supply in order to feed the beast, the NVIDIA or AI chipsets, the Grok chipsets, and the inference capabilities, all of these learning capabilities, they are in huge data centers that all need to be fed. And if you watched any of the NVIDIA videos, you'll see the requirements that we need in electricity. So we need renewable, we need nuclear. China is doubling its capacity by the end of 2030. So China will be already double, and they've just invested in that infrastructure. So the US and Europe needs to invest in energy in order to keep up and win in the AI race. Again, it's a race. Unfortunately, technology is always about a race, but so is the Olympics, right? If you want to win in the Olympics and you want to do well, and yeah, you gotta keep training. It's like nothing you can do about that, but that's partially what we are going to have to do. And talking about energy, one of the things that I find really interesting is look at this graph here from the Energy for Growth Hub, right? I've always been talking about energy, right? If you listen, energy is one of my pet peeves. I really think energy is something that we really are going to need. And I've always talked about there is a correlation between GDP growth and energy supply. And if you look, there are no low energy rich countries. So nothing down here, right? So this highlights the GDP per capita in terms of number of wealth per capita, and this number, the number of kilowatt hours generated in per capita, right? How much is consumed? So you look up here, all the nations up here, they have high GDP per capita. So there is a direct correlation between energy. So if we don't produce energy, if we don't create energy, we will not achieve growth. If that's something we don't want to do, that's okay. But then you end up like being like in Chicago, where all of a sudden they just tax you high. People are leaving. Lowest point since 1920. Chicago's population just fell to its lowest point since 1920. Found 61% of Illinoisans considered leaving the state with taxes cited as the number one reason. Okay, so there's no growth. Consumers cannot spend anymore. Starbucks is dropping in earnings, and then you're layering on more taxes. So I am forced to find a new home. Fortunately, in the US, you have greater mobility. Now, with the EU and Europe, maybe you have greater mobility. We'll all be going to Poland, where they seem to be having growth. We'll all be going to Hungary, where they seem to be having growth. And if you look, that's where the youth is going. The younger generations are moving to places like Poland and Budapest and things like Warsaw and Budapest and things like that. So that's what's happening. And in the US, we're seeing the same. We're moving to Florida, we're moving to Texas, we're moving to Tennessee. Why? Because the taxes there are lower. And there's a lot of energy production there, and energy costs are cheaper there too, by the way. So on top of that, you've got multiple different aspects there. But either way, one of the things that we've been working on is, as you know, we every month and tomorrow, there's a big update. The BLS at 8:30, the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, again, announces their inflation number. And so you can see here that we have announced our report and shared that report. So you can see the general forecast is anywhere in a range between 2.7 and 3.1%. A lot of people are believing that inflation is going to either drop from the existing three. Some people actually believe it's going to go up a little bit because we're seeing PPE just came out today, which is the PPI Producer Price Index, and we saw the manufacturing numbers. It's getting more expensive, so inflation's going up. But that hasn't impacted the historical numbers that the BLS works with. Remember, their numbers are some 6 months ago using survey data. So it's old data. It's not new. It's not real time. And so that's why high frequency data is really important. Real time tracking of pricing data is really important. And that's what we do at Truflation. But here you can see if we leverage the data that we have, we calibrate that back to the timelines across the different categories that we have 12, they have six. We categorize those and align those to bring those into the same brackets as true as the BLS. We come out at 2.8% year-on-year rate growth. So that means we're anticipating a lower number than what the government is forecasting. And then you can see why, right? Economic growth, we talk about it, it's still there. Employment and wages. Now, we talked about unemployment. If you listen to the rest of this podcast, we talk about 4.3%. So, will they hit the soft landing? If you listened to the spaces that we had just earlier, 2 hours ago, you will know whether it was soft landing or some people are forecasting hard landing, recession. So anyway, what's the consumer confidence look like? It increased a little bit in July. So why? And then you can read that in the report. I'm not going to go through this report, so you can read it. But this is what our customers get. For $12 a month, you can get all of this insight, all of this data, and have access to this. So it's next to nothing. We try to make all of this insight, all of this research available to you for free. We've got the EV reports. We've got another report coming out, which I'll share with you right now as well. But here you can see the BLS monthly change. So we got some cool graphs that we highlight in here. You can see the goods versus services versus core inflation, the correlations associated with that, using Truflation numbers, which sector specific, you can see an analysis into each of the sectors. You can actually see, by the way, what is driving, what are the inflationary trends that we're seeing out there. You can see impact on monetary policy, the global context, longer term views, and then there's a quick conclusion, which is only 4 sentences, 4 lines, and then about us, right? So ultimately, and we got a specific appendix where we now take month on month inflation. So we've been asked by the community to also have a look at month on month, and we have year on year. So you can see a lot of what we're forecasting and where we're going. Not only do we serve this to you in a detailed paper, you also get this in a nice report, right? So you can see this in a nice presentation. Again, maybe I should increase the presentation size here so you can actually see this, but maybe not, because here, how can I increase the size? That's too big, too big, too big, too big. Sorry guys, sorry. 100% too small. Maybe I do 125%. Oh, that's a bit bigger. Oh, then I'll widen the screen and then I'll move this across. Okay, how's that, guys? Can you see that a bit better? Still pretty small, but here we go into and then some narrative associated with it. You got some graphs that I shared, you see also on the other ones. Here we've talked about the housing sector, the food sector, categories applying downward pressure on inflation, right? Housing, food, and remember, housing, food are a big chunk. They're around 40% combined, if not a bit more, of the overall household spending. So nearly 50% of those come from those two categories. And if they're in a downward pressure, then ultimately that's going to imply that we see inflation go down a bit. And you can see right up here, Truflation is forecasting a 2.8 prediction, basically calibrating our numbers using our algos to be able to then align that with the government. And then here we talk about upward inflation, numbers going upwards. So you can see Kenneth is still working on this. This will be ready pretty soon, and we'll be able to share more on this. Here are the graphs on that. And then we have inflation will cool before it rises. So we see it continue to come down, but in the longer run horizon, we'll see it pick up again. which is, if you listen to the spaces, come to those spaces, you will learn from experts as well as from Truflation, Oliver's data, our analyst team, Oliver and Ivan. You'll hear from them what they're seeing, and they're more the experts. I'm just the loudmouth that uses their material and their insights to share that with you. But not only have we been working on the inflation index, one of the things that we get criticized a lot on or questioned a lot on is how our methodology is different to that of the government. And we've talked a lot about it in the past. I've shared a lot of videos on this in the past, just looking at the housing sector. So in the housing sector, we've looked at a number of different ways of calculating. And so not only have we done this on our own, but we, in partnership with Penn State, and we've been teeing it up, sharing it out, and sharing, whispering to your ears what's coming. Now we're happy to announce that Penn State University and Truflation have really, looked at validating the methodology that Truflation has developed, or Oliver and our team has developed, right? So you can see and we go into depth what that looks like. This is just a quick summary. This is the press release, so you can find out about this. There will be a spaces where our team and the Penn State team will get on a spaces or a podcast and share with you what they've been working on, why. So you'll have to sign up and register to get a part of that. It's for free, but just please sign up and register, and we'll give a link to that registration page coming up soon. All you need is your email, or that's all you need. Boom, nothing else. And here you can see what that reports look like. So sit down. It's 35 pages long, and it goes into great detail as to why our methodology is so innovative and much more attuned with the where the market's going at. So you get a quick summary up here, and it correlates a lot of the PCI, the PCE with the CPI. So lots of different acronyms. But yeah, you can see shelter, like we talked about in the past, makes up to 42.4% of the CPI, right? So big, high percent if you look at the government. But if you look at Truflation's number, again, it's 23.2%. Why? How come? Can't be credible. Not real. That's what we hear. But why go into explaining that we take out utilities? Utilities is a separate category. Why? Because utilities fluctuates with the price of oil and the price of gas and the price of energy. Housing prices are much more tied to interest rate fluctuations. And how often does the interest rate volatile? I would say not so much. And so as a result, especially if you've got a 30-year mortgage, are you really going to change that? Is that going to have an impact? The amortization, that component is an important element. The interest payment is less so. And so anyway, this report goes into that detail throughout the whole report. And we have graphs in here. We have great insights. I'm not going to go through this, but this has taken a lot of work, a lot of insight, and a lot of that is going to be reflected in all the housing graphs that we have available for you in the dashboard. Again, only $12 a month. If you can't afford that, and you're an active student, by the way, we will give this to you for free. If you're an active student, sign up, let us know. You get the Pro Edition for free. So you get huge value to be able to access this. So here you can just, I don't know why you're not sharing, because I'm not sharing the screen. Anyway, boom, boom, boom. Here you can see the 33-page report, 34 pages. And you can see here some of the graphs that shares and insights, how Truflation makes housing measurement more comprehensive. So you can then see, I'm not going to go through this. It's up for you to read, but just showing you the details that our analysts and our researchers and our data team that constantly aggregate all of this data and make this available in the Truflation marketplace available for you. not only are we announcing this and providing more credibility to the Truflation metrics and insights and calculations, we're going to be adding more details and sharing something with you that you do not want to miss on Thursday. So come to the Truflation Nation on Thursday and find out more. And I will give you one little hint, and that's it. But I don't know if you saw during the podcast, there was a conversation between Elon and Trump about Donald, Mr. President. I'm not sure how I should appropriately address him, but make Argentina great again. Remember, they had a MAGA sign in there, and they did talk about Argentina. They talked about cutting and what Argentina has done. So, um, join us on Thursday, and let's see how Truflation is contributing to that. And let's see that. Oh, by the way, one thing: if you haven't been on Truflation lately, and you haven't listened to the last podcast, check out our Big Mac Index. We have a quick Big Mac Index, and on the UK, what is inflation like over the last period of time since 2010? We tracked the inflation price, and you can see inflation has gone is £4 for a Big Mac right now, and it was £2 at 2010. So it's nearly doubled. Like the cost of a Big Mac has nearly doubled, and that's not taking into account shrinkflation. Maybe there is no shrinkflation, but I just wanted to share that with you. Those are stats that we've put in place and we track. There's something wrong with the inflation adjusted. And by the way, you can't hear, but you can usually tick these and look at what we do here just to improve. I'm going to share with you. I can add a comment here. And yeah, that start a new thread. Hey, can we enable the crossing out of specific? So now this goes straight to the team, and the design team now knows that there's a comment there on our, so that's how quick and how fast we operate when we want to update some of the content. Just sharing a little bit of productivity insight. What we will do next week or the week after, I will go more into the GitHub repo. So we'll go into more of the code and how we translate some of the code into value propositions. And I might invite our lead engineer who's working on the TSN to join the call. Let me know if you want that. Happy to do that. Would love to sort of share more if you're interested to learn about that, what you think and how you like that. But anyway, that's something that we'll develop and work on. Yeah, that's sort of our partnerships, our announcements. You can read all about it on the blog. Go to truflation.com, check it out, and let us know what you think and what else we can offer you there. And now to the last section of the show is about Q&A, any questions you have. So Luke S. asked, had a sudden thought, will there ever be the opportunity for us to select the type of data we want to view on the platform? I want to see Australian commodity dollars percent over 20 years and compare to other countries. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know really. I haven't actually, we've looked at commodities. So here you can type lithium and you can see lithium futures prices. What commodities? We've got platinum, you can see platinum prices. So I don't know, we don't have anything specific to Australia. We will be able to have that. I think it's just a matter of how do we source that data? That's something that we can put up. If you go to our discourse channel, about governance. I think it's under the governance portal. It should be under here. Governance. You can go vote on proposals. You can go to the forum here. So truflation.discourse.org. Sorry, I should have actually shared my screen, walk you through that. Truflation forum. So we have a forum here where anybody can propose what we should be doing. You can see a lot of conversations here. Activity hasn't been too much too lately. 15 days ago, proposal stop token unlocks for 6 months. Yeah, I mean, these are something, country index suggestions. So Germany, Canada, Australia, France, Venezuela, Argentina, Italy, the EU. I if can do some Asian countries closer to home, Malaysia, Singapore, Philippines. Yeah, Korea, please. It's an interesting country. Yeah, there's Korea Blockchain Week. Any of you going to Korea Blockchain Week? Let me know. Wondering whether I should go there. True. I like Argentina, also Germany. Okay, Argentina. So if you see, Argentina did come up a lot, and we'll be announcing something a bit more on Thursday. A lot of Asian countries. El Salvador pops up. Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia as well. So we'll have a look again. Argentina, LATAM, so Mexico. Alex Lohman, so really good supporter, really early on. He's got a lot in Brazil, so maybe we should go to Brazil next. We've got a lot of community. He's done a lot of research in that market, and is obviously a aficionado in there. I'm from Argentina. Would love to see more here. So yeah, just lots of conversation here. So post something here on what data sets you think we should get, and yeah, let us know, and maybe we can try and support and quickly identify those data sets. But yeah, how do I find this, by the way? You go back to truflation.com. Sorry, I'll just go back to here. So I'm in truflation.com. If you're in there, you can go to governance portal. In the governance portal, you can come down to here, go to forum, and vote on proposals. Stay tuned. There will be something coming for voting. So those of you that have VE tokens, which will take me now to the staking conversation that we had. You can see that's how you get to here, and you can vote on that. But the other thing is, we had heard that when you stake your truth, that there are now I have balance. I have not yet staked. This is the treasury wallet. It's not my wallet, by the way. But either way, you can stake and earn 2.4%. If you come here and stake for 3 years, you can see how the APY should be unavailable. Why is it unavailable? Interesting. Because if I do max, it gives me an 89.4% APY. So if you lock it for 3 years, that's 89.4%. That's a very good return on your token. If you lock it for 1 year, it drops to 29.9%, 15%, and 2.4% for 1 month. Just to give you a flavor of how much the APY was. But there was a period in end of April, May, June, and I think around May, June timeframe. And we'll write this up in a blog. But there was a period where we had to update our staking rewards for the participants. And we heard the community, a lot of you complained and wanted to see those 5 days filled, because we needed from 9th to the 14th, which is 5 days, we needed to update the numbers and update and refresh those numbers with the latest numbers. We had a deployment issue around from a technology perspective. I won't go into the details, but either way, what we're going to do, if you divide the number of tokens that were acting as rewards, they were 500,000 tokens divided by 30 days a month. That is equal to 16,666 tokens multiplied by 5, so 5 days, that's 83,000 tokens. So as a level of interest, and addition to that, we're not going to only give you 83,000, we're going to lump it up to 100,000. So this month only, there's going to be 600,000 truth tokens as a reward for staking. So the yields will go a bit higher this month, but it's only 1 month. Remember, it's going to then go back to the 500,000 because that's now locked into smart contracts. So we're just doing an additional injection of an extra 100,000 into that. So just wanted to share that with you. That's a bit of community news. We'll be posting this in a bit of a blog post and sharing that with everybody tomorrow. So happy Tuesday. Fear is very high, but we're working on it and we'll come back to you. Thank you, everybody.